Hi, everyone. This is Scott Nybakken for Dynamite Comics, and I'm here again with the writer Ed Brisson to talk about his brand new ongoing series, Thundercats Lost. Ed, thanks for joining us on the channel.
Good, thanks for having me.
So it wasn't too long ago that we were talking about your one-shot special, Thundercats Apex, which has proved to be a real milestone in the ongoing Thundercats saga. Did this new series grow out of that assignment, or was it being developed at the same time?
They both came to me at the same time. So when Nate first contacted me about doing Thundercats Apex, he contacted me and said he had a couple projects that he thought I'd be a good fit for, and so it was Apex and then Thundercats Lost, which there is a little bit of a lead in from one to the other. There's a little bit of a connective tissue between the two series.
Yeah, and so Thundercats Lost is centered on a new group of Thunderans separate from the main Thundercats cast. But they're on a similar mission, but in a very different environment. Can you give us a quick rundown of the plot for the book without getting too far into spoilers?
Yeah. So basically, the Thundercats Lost team is it starts out as a much larger crew who've been sent to try and find a new home for the Thunderians. It's clear that Thundera its days are numbered, but they're sent out in advance of Lino and all the mainline Thundercats. So this was like the initial scout party that was going out and trying to find a second place that the Thundercats could escape to and establish a new home. And as the sort of title indicates, they get lost in the process. They come across a planet. They're immediately shot down. Their numbers are thinned greatly. I think between the amount that we start with and the amount that are on the Lost team is, I think, only like 25% of the team, the crew make it.
High casualty rate.
Right out of the gate, and so they're kind of trapped behind enemy lines. They're on a new world that they're completely unfamiliar with, facing an enemy unlike anything they've ever seen. This enemy clearly has a hatred of cats. There's a sort of an implied history between cats and this enemy, and so they're trapped behind enemy lines, trying to escape, trying to get on the run, and more or less trying to get word back to Thundera that maybe this isn't the place.
And so several members of the Lost Company, like Bengali, Pumira, and Linkso, are characters who appeared in the original animated series. But you're also introducing some brand new characters like Ligon and Shen. Can you walk us through the process of how they were developed and who else was involved in their development?
Sure. So it's Ligon and Nico. We at some point changed his names. No, that's it's fine. It went through a process, but so Rafa Labosco, the artist who was also the artist on Apex, is the artist on Lost. He and I developed these two characters together. So Nico she's a snow leopard. She's a warrior. She's not very big, but she's compact and fierce. Probably one of the fiercest, I think, Thundercats. She's kind of no nonsense. She doesn't take anyone's crap. Very serious, very tactically minded. Actually, and a lot of fun to write. And then on the other side, we have the other character is Ligon, who is a liger, which is what you have when you have a lion father and a tiger mother. And one of the things about that when it happens in zoos, because tigers and lions don't normally cohabitate, but there's no growth inhibitor passed down from the parents to the child, so the child tends to be much larger. The cub, as it grows, becomes much larger than either parent. And it's the case with Ligon. He's kind of a giant among the Thundercats, much larger than any Thundercat we've seen before. He's incredibly strong. His unlike the other Thundercats, he doesn't have a weapon beyond his fists. and but he's definitely a sweetheart as well. He's very caring. He's kind of the moral center of the team. He tends to get more sort of emotional about the things that are happening around him. So those are brand new characters, that Rafa and I came up with together. Very excited to sort of introduce them to a wider audience and into the Thundercats mythology.
Excellent. And you've also been writing the new ongoing adventures of the Thundercats sister series, Silverhawks, both of which came out of the legendary production house of Rankin Bass. I know you're the world's biggest Silverhawks fan, so I'm curious how much of the look and feel of that show has influenced this new corner of the Thundercats universe.
I think we're trying to really keep them, like, they both have that Rankin Bass feel from those animated series. So that's there, that's implicit, it's already there. But beyond that, we try and keep them each distinct, right? So like Silverhawks has a very distinct flavor to it, and Thundercats Lost is going to feel more like the mainline Thundercats book. The sort of thought process we've had going on is like the Lost team is going to be to the mainline team like X-Force is to X-Men, or like the Suicide Squad is to the Justice League. They're a little bit darker. They're a little bit more. This is a little bit more of a grim book. It's not it's not an overly dark book. I don't want to try and sell it as that, but it's there are casualties. It's a little bit bloodier, I guess.
Yeah, and speaking of grim, like you touched on it a little earlier, but there's there's going to be some major antagonists in this new series. What can you tell us? Like, can you tell us anything more about them?
So I'm trying to keep some stuff for the reader to experience, when they pick up the book. I will say that the major antagonists, we have kind of two major antagonists here, and there's the one and then his right hand man. And the major antagonist is somebody from the cartoon. So if you were a fan of the Thundercats cartoon, you will recognize this character. We've sort of we've beefed him up a little bit from the cartoon. Like he didn't have quite the army that he does in the comic book, but it's still something that's definitely in line with who the character was and what the character was about in the cartoon. And then his right hand guy is another character that Rafa and I created for the series that we're very, very excited for people to meet. He's a badass kind of mercenary type character who will be the one leading the charge to try and take out the Thundercats Lost team.
Excellent. Finally, what do you think the chances are for a Thundercats and Thundercats Lost crossover? And do you have some ideas in mind already?
Yeah, definitely have some ideas in mind. I think it's I think it's probably more of a when than an if. I think it feels like it's a thing that's going to happen. But kind of as with any of the books, we want to make sure that we establish our book as its own independent thing and really make sure it's got its feet underneath it before we start jumping into doing crossovers or anything like that.
Yep. Well, and thanks for spending some of your ever scarcer free time with us to tell us more about this exciting expansion of the Thunderverse. Thundercats Lost #1 will be in stores in March, so be sure to pre-order it now. And follow Dynamite Comics on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and X to hear more about all of our upcoming releases. Thanks for watching.